Welcome back to episode 2 of the Soapbox Top 5 Tips on Getting the Most Value Out of Your ServiceNow environment. I am Mark Chen. I am at the Soapbox offices in busy Cremorne, and if you do hear some noise, that's because stuff is getting done. Paul Heath is with me today, co-founder and vice president of product marketing at Soapbox. How are we doing today, Paul?
Great, thanks, Mark.
Today we're going to be talking about increasing first contact resolution rates. Paul, last week self-service is up thanks to Sophie, and now we're looking at first contact resolution. What are the underlying issues in that space?
Look, the main issue with first contact resolution rates is the quality of the experience you get as a customer is directly related to the the experience of the person that you happen to contact on the service desk. If you happen to get a great, someone who's been there a long time, has great experience in the issue you're calling about, you're going to get a good experience. If you happen to get someone who just rocked up that day into the job, they've never seen this issue before, obviously you're going to get a different experience.
Right.
So really the challenge that we're trying to solve for Sophie is how do I provide consistency across your service team on any potential issue that may come into the desk.
Right, so how does Sophie do that specifically?
So Sophie essentially uses her learning capabilities to observe your best agents, figure out how they handle issues, and then provide advice and essentially what we call augmentation to existing or other agents in how they should best resolve those issues. And she does that through providing knowledge recommendations, providing suggestions on solutions.
Right.
And by doing that, we're able to increase the first contact resolution rate.
Right, so you mentioned something about Sophie observing your best agents. So I'm guessing that there's a bit of a self-learning here with Sophie.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we use the data that has been captured by agents on how they're responding to, how they're resolving those calls based on either the fields that they're setting, or the actions they're taking, or the knowledge they're recommending, and then that those actions are getting replayed back to other agents based on the learnings that Sophie has developed.
Right, so that really shortcuts training time, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, training time for staff, absolutely, and we talk about that in another episode where we address how Sophie can be used to reduce onboarding costs.
Right.
But one of the challenges that we also deal with is, let's say Sophie isn't able to provide that answer. Maybe that service desk agent or the team just can't address that issue and requires escalation to a specialised team. Sophie can also help guide and recommend where that call should be assigned, how it should be classified, and which team it should be assigned to. So we can reduce the amount of triaging time and effort that a service desk would consume, once again impacting the resolution rate of the issue.
That's great. Sounds really good, Paul. Can you show us how this works?
Absolutely. Let's have a look at a ServiceNow environment where we pretending we're a service agent on a service desk.
Yep.
We've taken a call from someone on the phone. We're in the incident form here, and the first thing that they'll want to do is trying to capture the description of the issue. So let's say we say it's a reset my password. And you can see what is happening on the right hand side, that Sophie is starting to light up with different recommendations. If we click on those recommendations, we can see that they primarily consist of what we call intelligent predictions, where we're trying to predict certain fields on the form. So rather than having this person try and figure out how should they classify it, or where should they assign it, Sophie's providing recommendations. In this case, all the confidence is quite low because we haven't really provided that much information. It just says password reset.
Right.
In the same way, we've got recommended knowledge. So here's some knowledge articles that may be relevant. There's a Salesforce password reset, there's the SAP, and once again they're somewhat generic because there's no, that we haven't been that specific.
I'm guessing that would then prompt the agent to ask the right question as well, wouldn't it?
That's right. And if we just compare this to what ServiceNow knowledge is doing, and you can see that ServiceNow is coming up with some relevant knowledge. Not all of the same knowledge articles, because some of these knowledge articles are coming from other repositories.
Of course.
But if I'll just share a simple trick that we, or an aspect of our natural language processing that is simple but very effective, and that's a simple spell checking that we do. So if I misspell these words purposely, you can see that Sophie is still providing reasonable knowledge search results, but if I compare that to what ServiceNow is now doing, not coming up with hardly anything. In fact, it's just triggering on the word my there. So if I go back to, if I look at my predictions, once again, we're still getting a fairly good rate of predictions of what looks like the correct recommendations. Now, if I provide some more information here, like reset my Oracle password, then what we're hoping to see is that the prediction has even higher confidence, and because it's reached a certain threshold, we've automatically set these fields. In fact, if this was a call coming in via email and we triggered a certain threshold to automatically set fields, then that would just get automatically classified and assigned, and maybe the appropriate knowledge, high-ranking knowledge, would automatically get attached to the record and sent out. So really, going beyond just first contact resolution and really level 0 resolution, because we're automatically making those predictions on behalf of the service desk. And you can see here that we've got now our Oracle password reset knowledge article is the highest ranked. If we have a look at that, just highlights that this is not even a ServiceNow knowledge article, it's in this case, a Confluence knowledge article. This is really critical in the situation where most organizations, especially their second level teams, won't be using ServiceNow knowledge for storing their team's knowledge articles. They may live in Confluence, they may live in SharePoint, they may live in some other repository. And so being able to bring this knowledge together at the moment of need, in this case on the service desk, is incredibly important in helping to reduce or increase the first call resolution rates.
Right. So the knowledge exists in a different silo, and Sophie's gone and found it without you having to integrate your databases.
Absolutely, and we're applying that same natural language parsing capability, so we don't need to use the exact words that exist in those knowledge articles. We can use techniques like lemmatization and stemming, which is essentially gives you the ability to identify words like termination is the same as terminate. So it doesn't need to be exactly the same word, but Sophie knows that essentially those two words are related to each other, and therefore if you type in the search for terminate, it will find articles that have termination in them.
Lots of time saver right there.
So let's now have a look at an example where Sophie can be used from a self-service point of view to capture the intent and understanding of an issue and then manage that through to the resolution of the issue, or at least the assignment of the right team. So in this particular case, we're going to show an example of that. Someone's going to the portal and they're saying they can't access Salesforce. Now in this case, the issue is not an application issue, it's actually a network site issue. And we're going to show you how we can use Sophie to determine that's the case and then get that call assigned to the right team, which in this case would be the network team. So I understand you correctly can't access Salesforce, is that right? Yes, that is correct. Can't you access the application, or can't you log in? I can't access the application. And so a way to determine whether or not this is an application issue or maybe a networking issue is ask a simple question like, well, can you access the network? I'm going to say, no, I can't. And now we need to determine, is this a localized issue, or is it maybe a site-wide issue? And you'd ask maybe a question like, is it affecting me or other people? I'm going to say it's affecting others.
Just like a human would do.
Yeah, that's right. We're trying to simulate exactly the kind of diagnostic process that a human agent would ask. In this case, what we've done is we're assuming if it's more than you, it's probably a site-wide issue. Let's go into the ServiceNow location database and try and find out, or the user database, and try and find out what your default location is, and asking the question, is it this location? I'm going to say, no, it's a different location, and we'll say it's for Solana Beach. So now what Sophie's doing is going into the ServiceNow location record, into the CMDB, grabbing the router that's associated to that location, grabbing the IP address, doing a network test to see if that if there's connectivity there. And she's basically come back and said, no, that we've performed a test, looks like the entire site is down. We've logged an incident with the service desk to get it resolved, and also suggesting that if you want to get an update on this, you can just use this number to contact the service desk with. You can actually use Sophie to get an update on this incident directly through this interface. So if we then go and have a quick look at that incident, what we can see is that Sophie has automatically triaged this call assigned it to the right team, in this case the network, classified it as a network fault, assigned it to the network team. We've captured that network test history that we've performed in real time when we're on the call with the customer, and also captured the chat history. So by the time it gets to the network team and someone picks up, in theory they've got all the information they need to be able to try and rectify this issue.
Amazing. And again, so no human was involved in this, and it's
Other than the customer.
Other than the customer, yeah. And it's been now escalated to the team that can fix the problem.
That's right, so bypassing the service desk altogether. So why go through that gate if there's no need to? All that does is put additional time and delays into the resolution of this issue.
Great, and there you have it. How to use Sophie to increase first contact resolution rates. Thanks, Paul, for joining us today.
Welcome.
Next week's episode is we're going to be talking about using intelligent search. But in the meantime, where can people go to find out more about Soapbox?
Sure, they can go to the website, soapbox.ai. There's lots of information on our resource page, lots more demos that they can get a sense of how Sophie is being used to help other ServiceNow customers. And they can also sign up for a trial for Sophie and have Sophie stood up on perhaps one of their non-production ServiceNow instances to see how Sophie works in their own environment.
Fantastic. And there you have it. We'll see you in the next episode.